Hello and welcome back to the Trailblazers of the Universe podcast. My name's Diana and I am your host here on the Trailblazers of the Universe podcast. I am activating your personal, spiritual, and healing evolution. So today's episode is going to be about tapping back into yourself. And speaking of that, that's actually what I have been doing. I've been on this journey of tapping back into myself. And I think that everybody could benefit from tapping back into themselves. We're in a society where there are a lot of fakes, AI, things that make you question what's real and what's not. There's a lot of people putting up fake personas in real life and social media. A lot of people are programmed to be a certain way, to look a certain way, to act a certain way. Part of my mission on Trailblazers of the Universe is really to be a trailblazer, to carve your own path in life. And sometimes that doesn't look like what the rest of the world looks like, or it doesn't match societal norms, or just what you have been programmed to believe. But there's so much going on in the world, and a lot of people don't have a sense of self. And this is also part of the spiritual awakening process. Some people are going through a dark night of the soul, or in my opinion, dark night of the soul, which I went through as well. I've actually gone through a couple of those, and I've actually would even say I've almost went through a partial one recently as well, because I think we are always shedding layers that do not resonate with our divine soul blueprint or our soul's authentic frequency. You're tapping back into your authentic self. Who were you before the world told you who you are? Who were you before society programmed you to be a certain way? Maybe your parents programmed you to be a certain way. Often our families were just doing the best they did with what they had. And it might not be much, or it might not be in alignment with where you want your life to go. So our school system has done this. Society has done this. Government, the media, social media. A lot of people don't know who they are. This world can have that effect on you. A lot of people go to school, go to college, get a job that they think is going to pay well so they can support their family or, support themselves. A lot of people are doing things not because they truly want to do them, but because they think they have to, or they think that is what's needed for them to reach a certain goal. This goes back to your belief systems. That's why shifting your belief systems is so important, especially when we live in a society where we've all been programmed at some level, right? Since we were born, like I just said. What would life look like if you actually lived the authentic life that you want to live? Think about it. If you get rid of all these things that you are just doing just because, maybe just to make a living, just because maybe that's what you've been doing for a while, it's just comfortable, and it's easy for you. Maybe it's not easy for you. Could even be making you miserable. Maybe you're addicted to misery. Could just be you don't know another way. Go back to your belief systems. Maybe you don't believe there's another way to live. What if I told you you could live as your authentic self and be fulfilled and even attract abundance and prosperity and feel content and not feel guilt or shame? What if I told you that's possible? Could you believe that it's at least possible? Could you start to shift your belief systems to believe that that's a possibility, even if you don't fully believe it? Our society basically wants you living like everyone else. They want everyone to be the same, right? When everyone thinks and feels the same, they're also going to act the same. So it's also a way to control, right? Influencing society. But a lot of people are unhappy, unfulfilled, and don't have any direction, no sense of purpose. And guess what? That's okay if you're feeling that way. Actually, that's great if you're feeling that way. You might say, how is that great, Diana? I'm miserable. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just like a leaf blowing with the wind, right? I'm miserable and I don't know what else to do. I'm unfulfilled. I don't know what else to do. Or maybe I had this big dream. I had this big vision, but it's not paying me anything. How am I supposed to support myself, Diana? Like, that's part of my authentic self. And I'm discouraged. Or maybe it's something like I'm being my authentic self and I've lost all my friends. People think I'm crazy, blah, 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 right? Anyone or anything that you attract in your life by not being your authentic self, you're doing yourself a disservice. I've heard the quote, I'd rather be hated for who I am than liked for who I am not. There are a lot of people in the society who have sold their souls. We've been shown this image of, let's just say Hollywood. Let's just give an example of that. Now, I'm not saying everyone in Hollywood sold their souls. I don't want to say that, but you kind of get where I'm going with this. A lot of people sold their souls in the aspect of they cannot be their authentic self. They are being paid and influenced to not be their authentic self, to be whoever is benefiting from them wants them to be, or it's a certain agenda, right? We can go into the occult and all that stuff with certain groups that run the world, right? And that have taken over many industries, like the music industry, acting, corporations, different things like that. A lot of people, there's people that are literally being paid to not be their authentic self, to show an image, to show a certain lifestyle. And while, yes, you might make money from doing that, you're not free. That means you're not a sovereign being. So even though you think this person has this lifestyle that you want, this glamorous lifestyle, which often isn't really that glamorous, it's just on the outside, it's an image, it's an illusion, you have to ask yourself, why are these images being pushed to me? They are trying to create an image in your subconscious, right? Reprogram you to want this, think, feel, and act like that, to serve certain agendas. We could go into like evil agendas and things like that. I did a podcast not too long ago with my friend Brittany, who is also a hypnotherapist and a coach as well, and we talked about coming back to yourself. I would recommend to watch that too, because I think that's a little bit of a different perspective of this. One of the things she said in that podcast was, what's something that you did when you were a kid that maybe really brought you joy? Maybe it was a talent you had, a hobby or something that you got really excited about, that you're maybe really good at, that you maybe forgot. As you become an adult, you kind of throw away all your dreams and you maybe go to school, or you get serious about what you're going to do next. You get more serious about your career. Maybe you're feeling pressure from your parents, from schools and everything like that, right? I think we all go through this. I went through that myself as well. When we go through this, we lose our magic. We lose our spark when we stop doing things that bring us joy. It could even be things that we liked when we were a kid, before the world told us who to be, right? What did you enjoy as a kid? I don't care how silly it sounds. I don't care how childish it sounds. Go and do that, whatever that is. And maybe you have multiple things. Why did you stop doing it? Maybe your teachers at school or your parents told you it was silly, or it was a silly dream. These are all these negative things that are affecting our belief system when we're a kid, when we're a sponge, right, of what's possible for us. So we have to be willing to let that go. Tapping back into yourself. What's something that used to bring you joy that you don't do anymore? Or something that you feel very passionate about? Or something that just lights you up? What is that? That's tapping back into yourself. That is part of your soul's authentic frequency. Sometimes it's the little simple things in life that bring us joy. It's not always this big, doesn't even have to be a material thing. It could be, but sometimes it's the simple joys in life. Tapping back into yourself could also mean resting. Often we keep ourselves so busy that we're not tapping into ourselves. Sometimes we overwork ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform in this society where that always has you working, right? In the hustle bustle mentality, right? Sometimes we have to slow down so we can tap back into ourselves. After experiencing a traumatic event, I moved out to the mountains / country where everything is a little bit slower. I am farther away from everyone and everything, but there is this little town out here and I like all the nature out here and everything. So that for me was how I started tapping back into myself. I realized that living closer to the city and the busyness of the world, even though I still have a job that's pretty fast paced, still, even moving somewhere different was definitely a step to me tapping back into myself. My soul felt called to be more in a more slow-paced area where there's more nature, country, even there's farm animals out here. It's not too far out there. It's still not too far from the city if I wanted to. I'm like an hour and a half. If I wanted to go to like Washington, D.C., an hour and 40 minutes. I used to live like 20 minutes from there. So I moved a little bit farther out. And part of that is like my soul felt called to do that. That was me tapping back into myself. I intuitively knew in order to heal and to just evolve more and just live a more fulfilling life, I wanted that. I wanted to go where I could slow down a little bit and just enjoy life more. That's what I have been doing. I'm not saying every day is rainbows and butterflies by any means, but it has been an improvement. It's helped me tap back into myself. Sometimes tapping back into yourself is going to environments that resonate with your soul. I know we've all been in environments where you're like, I don't belong here, I don't want to be here, and something is maybe even off-putting about it, or energy's not good, right? So that's tapping back into yourself. Your body's always giving you messages. Recently, I got sick, but I know it was from I was doing too much and not resting enough and not listening to my body. I was trying to overwork myself, put pressure on myself to meet certain expectations or deadlines, and I realized a lot of that was unnecessary and basically also a form of self-sabotage as well. I'm aware of those patterns because my body was telling me to slow down, you're doing too much, like something's not in alignment, right? So I've been doing that more, which has also led to me recording less, but I've been doing a lot of soul searching recently. Also, in reference to the dark night of the soul thing I was talking about, shedding layers that no longer serve you, now I'm becoming a different person again, like a butterfly, right? It's going through this metamorphosis. Not the caterpillar anymore, I'm a butterfly, but maybe you haven't had time to fly in your new wings. So sometimes it can take some time. Sometimes you have to accept that tapping back into yourself could be letting go of people that no longer resonate with maybe your soul or where your life wants to go, or maybe they're just not good for you, right? Especially if you're going on a healing journey, you start to seek less drama and toxicity and more healing, more gentle environments, right? Slowness. If you looked at me years ago, especially when I was dealing with overcoming addiction and different traumas and things like that, I was a very different person. I liked the fast life. I liked the drama. I liked the chaos. My relationships became a reflection of that. My friendships became a reflection of that. And I had to do a lot of inner work to even get to the point where I wanted to be in that place that's more slowed down, or where I even feel comfortable resting. Tapping back into yourself might be scary to some people because some people haven't been doing shadow work, haven't been doing healing work. Some people want to avoid or deny things that they need to do, or just are rejecting the awareness of it, of the messages that your body's been trying to give you, messages that your soul has been trying to give you, because some of these things are difficult to let go of. We have attachments to how we used to be. We maybe were comfortable in certain patterns or certain lifestyle, even if it was making us miserable. Your subconscious also gets scared when you try to do things outside of its comfort zone, right? Wants to keep you safe. So when you're doing all these new things, even if it's something positive or based on healing, or something to help you evolve, it's something that could really improve your life, sometimes we reject it or we want to avoid it. But what you resist persists. And if you keep pushing yourself past your limit, when your body's telling you no, or maybe when your soul's telling you no, maybe a little bit of both, things will happen to get your attention. Could be things that are negative, right? Could be illness. Could be just maybe a traumatic life event, an unpleasant experience, maybe a roadblock, a detour. There are a lot of synchronicities. Whether you're a person who's tapped into your spirituality or not, you have your own intuition. You're always being guided to where you should go. You get messages, like some people are more tapped in than others, right? This is what tapping in is about, tapping into yourself. What do I really want? Go into meditation. Go tap into yourself. Ask yourself questions. Carl Jung, however you say his name, the psychologist, one of the things he always said was, in doing shadow work, what wants to emerge through me today? That could be something good or bad. But I say to get rid of the duality, the good or bad. Something wants to be expressed through me. Maybe it's a darker part of myself, but it's authentic, right? We all have our light, our shadow. It's all about balance. So sometimes you need an outlet to express parts of yourself that maybe you didn't express. Maybe it's not going to be content creation like what I'm doing. Maybe it's something artistic. Maybe you're painting something. Maybe you're drawing something. Maybe you're creating music. Maybe you're singing. Maybe it's some kind of exercise or dance. Maybe you're writing. Maybe you're just talking out loud to yourself. Whatever you need to do to express yourself. It's important to spend time with yourself, to tap back into yourself on a regular basis. Especially if you're in a situation where you're living with people. Maybe you have kids. Maybe you're living with a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife. Maybe toxic family members. I've been there. It's so important to tap back into yourself, especially if you're an empath. When you can take on the energy and emotions of others like it's your own. Sometimes it's hard to decipher what's yours and what isn't. It's so important to tap back into yourself on a regular basis. What could that look like? Maybe spending alone time, just spending a day to yourself. Maybe the environment you live in, You really don't have much personal space, or just too many energies like interacting with you, and maybe you need to go get a hotel for a night or go on a trip by yourself. Go camping. Go out into nature. Tap back into yourself. I go out into nature all the time. When I feel like I need more clarity on something, or I'm just trying to, or maybe the opposite, I'm just trying to clear my head of everything and just want more harmony of balance, I go out into nature. Anything that could bring you into a flow state. That's things that bring you joy. For me, yoga. When I do yoga, I'm in a flow state. Often, when I'm inspired to create content, when I'm in a flow state, right? And it just flows, it's natural. What helps you tap back into yourself? Also, removing things that lower your vibration, lower your frequency. Limiting distractions. A lot of people are tapped into so many other things, everything but themselves. The drama that's going on in the world, on social media, what's going on with the world leaders, what's going on with the government, shutdowns, alien invasion, whatever's going on. The new celebrity gossip. They have you distracted on so many different levels, and it's done by design. It's a war for your mind, a war for your soul. Sometimes in order to tap back into ourselves, we have to remove things that are toxic for us or aren't our authentic frequency. This could be a lot of the foods you're eating that are, I would say, poisonous because of all the chemicals in them, right? Sometimes that can affect you from tapping back into yourself. Sometimes substances, alcohol, even different forms of caffeine sometimes, even smoking cigarettes. Drugs, anything that throws off your frequency that's not natural, throwing off your frequency, right? Especially things that have chemicals in them or just toxins in them. I don't want to say it blocks you out from yourself. You're always connected to yourself, but it might create some fogginess or just kind of shift your energy in a way that's not beneficial for you. And like the messages aren't as clear, right? And maybe that's done by design. Maybe you're trying to numb out feelings. But the more we try to numb out feelings and distract ourselves from what's within, or what wants to emerge through us, or what our body's trying to tell us, what our soul's trying to tell us, the more chaos you're going to have in your life. There are going to be things that are going to happen that are clearly going to show you this is not the right path. Especially if you're more tapped in spiritually, it's going to be very obvious, very synchronistic. It's almost like, and it's an exact message from you. Sometimes it's an exact message on the radio, you hear a song at the perfect time. Sometimes you see something on a license plate. Sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes you might even have visions of things, and this might be coming to you in your dreams. So tapping back into yourself is so important. You're a powerful spiritual being having a temporary human experience. You have wisdom that goes beyond this lifetime. Your soul has a divine blueprint. It's this physical existence, this existence that's so based on the physical aspects of yourself and material aspects of life that it can have you distracted from what's really important and from tapping back into yourself. Also, when you fill your mind with content or news or whatever that is negative, that is lowering your vibration, right? That can prevent you from tapping back into yourself as well. When your mind is clouded with all this negativity and maybe propaganda, things that are designed to keep you in a lower frequency. Sometimes we have to remove those things. Sometimes these things aren't easy because we become so accustomed to them or used to them, or they make us feel a certain way or make us not feel. But the more you can do natural things that raise your vibration, that bring you joy, like things for your self-care, things to help elevate you in general, the easier you will find to tap back into yourself. I've experimented with this from each extreme side. I went to a holistic rehab to overcome addiction. And when I stopped taking those toxic substances and even making healthier lifestyle changes, being surrounded by better people, just know that you deserve to have an authentic life that is fulfilling to you. Actually, I'd say it's your birthright. But the society has us programmed otherwise. So today, how can you take your power back and know that it's safe to live a life that's authentic to you and to tap back into your authentic self? Maybe you're someone who has tapped back into yourself, and maybe you're at a period like I am where like I'm definitely not the old version I was, but I'm becoming someone different. Or the more I am doing soul searching and really removing things from my life that don't resonate with me on a soul level, that's people, places, and things, the more I'm tapping back into myself, the more you figure it out. You almost figure it out by not figuring it out. by being more of a flow state, by just making choices that are in alignment with your authentic self. When my authentic self think, feel, and act this way, what would they be doing? Being more in alignment with that. And it's also not feeling shame or maybe even guilt that you want this authentic life. Regardless of what your parents have told you, society told you, the government's told you, your friends have told you, what your belief systems have told you, be willing to go beyond that. Be willing to get outside of your comfort zone a little bit. Growth only happens outside of our comfort zone. Be so courageous to seek out your own authentic life. What feels good to you and what doesn't. Sometimes the way we learn this is through contrast. Sometimes we need to clearly see what doesn't resonate with us anymore, what doesn't feel good, what doesn't align, so that you can figure out what does. You experiment with different things. You do different things that bring you joy. You maybe try some new activities, new hobbies. Maybe you take a class of something you're always interested in. Maybe you're going back, we talked about the inner child earlier, to something you enjoyed as a child, even if it seems like silly to others or childish. This is how we bring the spark back into our life. In a world where it feels like they're trying to drain your spark and drain your energy in general, this is taking your power back. This is choosing where you're giving your energy to. A lot of it also is, in order to get that spark back and tap back into yourself, you have to also be aware of what is taking energy from you, what is draining you. That's draining that life force energy, that magic, that spark. What is draining it? And we might have to make some tough choices. Or maybe we have to set healthier boundaries to do so. Maybe it might be a little lonely because maybe you figure out that everyone in your life, everything that you did in your life, and maybe your behaviors, patterns, everything is like not in alignment, and then you go through the dark night of the soul. I went through that too. Sometimes it can get a little lonely because it's almost like you don't even know who you are anymore, or you're discovering a different part of yourself, or you have to let go of what's no longer aligned, which includes losing people, things, places that you were comfortable with, right? Or that maybe gave you joy at a certain point, but maybe they don't hit the same anymore, right? They're just, you're evolving, you're shedding that layer, so it doesn't feel the same anymore, and that's okay. You're supposed to be that way. That's tapping back into yourself. I'd rather live an authentic life and feel more free and authentic and sovereign than to be in that fake life. Even if I was making a lot of money in a life that in a life that's not authentic to me, right? I don't want that. You know, some people have different values, right? They're willing to sell their soul for anything. But tap back into yourself. Tap back into the authenticity, your own soul's blueprint. Your authentic frequency. That attracts everything that you could want in your life. So, my question to you is, how can you tap back into yourself today? And wherever you're watching this from, I put this on YouTube as well. So whether it's YouTube or a podcast app, if you're able to comment. Not even just today. How can you tap back into yourself every day? It could be removing one thing that you really hate doing, that you only have done because you think you need to do it, from your task list or from your life. It could be just going back to something you did when you were a kid. Could be just finding something that brings you joy every day. This is how you get your soul back. This is how you get your inspiration back. This is how you get that spark back, your passion back. When you start to tap back into yourself, tap back into that authentic frequency that is only yours. That light that is only yours. Imagine a world if everybody did that every day. Even if just a little bit, even if just one simple thing can make a big difference. This is tapping back into yourself. Don't you want to live a life that's authentic to you, that feels good to you, that feels free, where you feel sovereign? You can just be your authentic self and not care. Of course, there's going to be people that get triggered when you're being your authentic self, and they maybe even attack you. But let me tell you, it doesn't really matter as much when you're actually living an authentic life. Why would you even care about someone that is triggered by you living your authentic life? You know what I mean? If you really are tapping into yourself like that. It's a very high vibration when you're tapping into your authentic self. And if you don't know who your authentic self is, even better. This is the journey within. This is also spiritual awakening. This is finding what makes you you, what brings you joy, what inspires you. You might even have some creative ideas after doing this. Maybe a new project you want to work on. You have to be willing sometimes to let go of everything that you think that you need to be happy or to be authentic or to live your life purpose. Sometimes we have to release those beliefs. Just be open to new possibilities that are maybe way beyond what you believe is possible for you. Just believe that's possible. And believe that you deserve it. Because you deserve to live an authentic, fulfilling life. Despite what anyone else has to say. When you exit this life, don't you want to look back and say, I actually express my authentic self in this life. I actually lived the life I wanted to live. Not just, oh, I lived this life that I thought my parents wanted me to live, just working and just going by the program, right? You want to do something that's authentic to you, and that's how you take your power back. That's how you create magic in your life and in the world. So that's all I have for today. I know it's a little bit of a long one, a little bit of rambling, but I really wanted to drive this point home from different perspectives. And also tapping back in, when you tap back into yourself, you're probably going to be more aligned with your life purpose. You'll get a lot of synchronicities when you do that to show you that you're on the right path. And other opportunities will open up for you, and you'll meet maybe even soul family and things like that. So it does get really magical when you can start to tap back into yourself. And there are levels to this, Sometimes we go through different stages in our lives where maybe we weren't as inspired or tapped into ourselves. We felt kind of even like a void space, but that's important because that's part of it too. That's where the creativity, the light sparks from, the void. Tap back into yourself today and let me know how it goes. If you do that, if you start to make that a habit. So guys, I'm signing off Trailblazers of the Universe podcast. If you guys are interested in connecting with me outside of this podcast, I also have a Facebook group, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel as well. The link is in the show notes. I also offer coaching, so if you need intuitive guidance to motivate and support you on your self-improvement, spiritual, and or healing journeys, my contact information is in the show notes as well. Have a good day, stay up, and continue to tap back into yourself every day. Namaste.